at Light Reading's 2020 Vision event in Lisbon this week, and I'm joined by Jayshree Kottapalli from Vodafone. Jayshree, thanks for joining me. So you're involved in some really interesting areas for a service provider at the moment, working on technologies like artificial intelligence and automation and analytics. I mean, maybe just to start off, why are these technologies, which we hear are being talked about in other industries as well at the moment, but why are they so important for a telecom operator?
Telecom operators, definitely, because they are the digital nervous system of the world, especially the data they carry through their physical as well as virtual networks is immense and of immense import also. Till date, it has not been able to mine that data, partly because of lack of availability of proper technology, and also partly because of telecoms not realizing the worth of that data. So these are the two key factors that when they started realizing this and it got enabled, they realized the worth of that data and they want to know.
So has it been sort of technical barriers to being able to actually make use of the data in the past that's held things up?
So the network data that we are talking about, both user plane and control plane, is so immense, voluminous as it exists. That is just the operational data. But when you start enriching it, it increases that much more in volume. And there was no way earlier, before 2000s, on how to extract this data and how to mine this data and take analytics or intelligence out of it, because it was purely cost prohibitive to use the RDBMS systems or whatever databases. And some of this data is not even structured. So there was no way people could use tools to touch this data.
Okay.
Now with artificial intelligence and of course the Hadoop systems, onset of Hadoop systems, now we have moved to serverless. There are a lot more tools which enable us to mine this data one way or the other.
Okay, and you mentioned artificial intelligence there. There's obviously quite a lot of hype about the technology at the moment. How quickly do you see things moving? I mean, presumably there are other things that are happening before we get to real artificial intelligence, I guess, that are allowing you to do the mining that's
Absolutely,
helping you.
So first of all, this term of artificial intelligence was coined way back in 1950s and 60s. But to bring it into existence, it took us this long. Even today, what we are looking at is a narrow focus of AI. Narrow AI, which means for example, fingerprinting, so biometrics, or reading emails or PDF documents, or natural language processing. It's only focusing on one area of cognition that a human mind can do.
Okay.
So typically we do all of these together in a day's life. What we are looking at is finding the use cases to do one at a time or a combination of two or more at a time. That's it.
Yeah.
That is our limited ability for now. It will be some time, estimated 2050 or so, and obviously critical applications like maybe the military or space, these applications will first go into the general AI.
Okay. And this is when we say general AI, this is an AI that is almost human-like in its
more human-like, more reinforced learning,
yep.
More freedom of unsupervised learning. Mm-hmm. So we are not there yet. There is a lot to achieve that, and even let these things loose.
Okay.
Think of it as training your own child. When the child is born, they don't know how to interact with the society. It's what we as parents do. Parenting has changed over time, right? Yep. So what we thought was right about 70, 100 years ago is not right anymore.
Yeah. Is there a risk with AI that they sort of learn from our bad habits?
Yes. Human beings, by mentality, we each are a unique personality. And our personalities are shaped by our experiences and the way we react to them. And that also creeps into the things we design. So for example, if there is a judge or a judiciary system which believes that certain things are good, take the gun law for example.
Yep.
It's prohibited in some areas, there is a huge discussion going on, this is good, this is not. What is good, what is right, what is wrong? There need to be guardrails. When human beings themselves have not come to a certain perfection level of guardrails, how can we let narrow AI on machines do reinforced learning without guardrails? This is called the ethics of AI.
Okay.
There is a separate field of study coming up called the ethics of AI. There are machine ethics and there are usage ethics.
Okay.
So how you treat the machines, how you program them. For example, Microsoft's chatbot had famously gone wrong. It became aggressive because it was learning from its users. But nobody had programmed it not to learn certain things. No guardrails were placed.
Okay.
So that's where it could go wrong. It became aggressive. It started using words that were not acceptable. So this is what happens when you let it loose without any guardrails.
And is this for an operator like Vodafone, is this one of the big concerns?
Absolutely.
Is that holding things back perhaps more than the technology at the moment? Or?
So Vodafone or any other telecom provider, service provider, we face the customers. Now, as a customer of any telecom service provider, what you would like to see is your phone is always available for the amount that you pay and gives the service without any problems.
Yep.
That's the minimum you would expect. And of course, customer care when you have these problems. When, for example, if these things fail, so these are the minimum things any telecom provider would focus on first before trying to innovate on top of it. So we would not want to break things if they are going fine.
Okay.
Call it a conservative approach. But also analyze or understand our customer. We are moving into a different generation. Now there are several segments of generation. Understand each generation. Some generations are totally digitalized. They like to only interact by fast interactive channels like phone or chat or email. Mm-hmm. Whereas others would still want that human touch.
Okay.
For example, in banking, there are a lot of us who feel comfortable going into a bank and actually working with them, working with the cashiers, working with the service providers to do our banking. We are lots of the older
people
generation.
Still want this.
Yes,
yeah.
There are older generation people who really don't want.
Presumably a barrier to some operators who are moving into banking and trying to do everything
Same
digitally.
with telecoms also.
Right.
So we have an omni-channel digital customer care service provision, which means we cater to the latest generation also, but the bill payers are mostly the older generations.
Okay.
So the parents or the grandparents. So we cater to them also. So you cannot switch off a non-digital or analog channel just because you have a digital channel.
Yeah.
Until we have an established confidence in them.
So I mean, the way you're talking about it to a big extent, I guess, is actually realizing some efficiency benefits from the application of AI. But are there also ways where it could, I mean, you mentioned innovation there, are there ways that things that you're looking at the moment where it could open up new service opportunities and boost sales in the long run as well?
Yes. For example, in enterprise to enterprise, that is B2B business.
Okay.
Without even talking about IoT, what telecom service providers provide to business partners like AWS. We are business partners through AWS or GSK. What we can provide to them are not just raw data, but we can actually construct some insights really pertinent to them.
Okay.
And expose those insights to them using APIs and then automate on top of it. This is something we could sell as a service, new ways of revenue generation.
Sort of insights as a service.
Insights as a service.
Yeah.
Because there is so much of data which is velocity oriented, which means it should be mined within a certain time limit. Mm-hmm. Otherwise it loses its value.
Maybe just, I mean, not answering this specifically for Vodafone, but in terms of the impact you see AI and automation and analytics having on operators generally over the next 5 years, what do you think the kind of future service provider will look like as a consequence of all of this?
So, not even talking about Vodafone, there are immense possibilities where we can serve the customer, where we can monitor the network service, where we can expand the network service using edge analytics, which is one of the topics today. So we can even expand our coverage, take it into rural areas, mm-hmm. using the latest edge computing techniques.
Okay.
So there is immense possibility, and automating all of this and using focused AI on all of this. And AI is not just NLP or chatbots, it is also automating and reinforced learning of the network systems itself. So they can self-correct their own, not just predictive modeling, but self-correct themselves wherever it's failing. Actually, Google is using this, using our Vodafone networks.
That's interesting, yeah.
So there are possibilities which are immense, but it's not a single CSP journey. It's an ecosystem journey. So those related to that,
this is why it's important for the whole industry, I guess, to work together.
It's a whole industry and its dependents and its ecosystems. Everybody needs to evolve. The idea is there, but for it to materialize, it will take us some time.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for joining me today, Jayshree.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.